You are listening to the Average Pundits podcast on your favorite streaming platform.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Average Pundits podcast, your home of all things Premier League. We're coming at you a full week after the Euro final. Obviously, we weren't recording last week. We had some time to divulge and accept the information. Plenty of time to dwell on it and to come up with some opinions. But we're coming at you today with some regular kind of pundit stuff and some exciting stuff as well. We are talking about the transfer window. As always, guys, I am joined by Reese, and should be an interesting little talk today, Reese.
Indeed, yeah. I think that now that the Euros is over, the big talk is going to transfers, and we're going to do everything that we can to give our opinions on all the big moves that we possibly can. As you can tell from the title of the podcast, that we're going to be covering all the Premier League moves, people going into the Premier League, people moving out, loans, everything that you can think of. So yeah, we're going to focus on a few teams, and then we're going to focus on maybe just a few broader things that I think that we kind of need to cover within the Premier League. First team I want to start off with is Manchester United, and just because I think that they've been linked with the most high-profile names at the moment in world football. They've pretty much confirmed Jadon Sancho now, haven't they? I mean, he's going to be the life and soul of that United team going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken a long time to get here. If you were a fan of us last year, you can go and look at our old transfer videos we did with some of the top journalists across the UK. Paul Hurst, Jamie Jackson, these guys were all talking about this proposed move. We all knew it was happening. I think it was just a little bit of stubbornness on both parties last time just to agree on that fee. But it is done now. Jadon Sancho is at Manchester United, pending the official kind of picture and the kit. But we do know he is there. Sorry, a bit of traffic noise there.
Honestly, like traffic at the moment, it's heat. I don't know if people watching our podcast, there's traffic because we've got windows open. At the moment in where I'm staying, it's about 31 degrees. It's like a greenhouse. It's terrible. So you'll have to bear with us as we kind of push back the summer heat.
Yeah. But Jadon Sancho at United now, that is the big one. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking at him. And, I think if you talk about Jadon Sancho, you've got to kind of divert to quickly talk about what happened after the Euros. I think it's worth just quickly mentioning it. Obviously, Jadon Sancho, Bukayo Saka and Marcus Rashford missed penalties in the penalty shootout. And some people decided to take that as, an act of or a platform basically to go on and spout a bunch of racial hatred, which is horrible. It's disgusting. And as football fans, it really does, as real people who support football, as people who are fans of these players, it really does upset you. Obviously, you don't have to be, somebody of a different race. You don't have to be in any kind of different background, denomination, race, religion to be offended by racism. So I think we were both saying that what they were subjected to was disgusting, and thankfully the majority of the country saw sense and rallied behind these guys and promoted them for the people they are and the athletes they are, because they did us all proud. At the end of the day, they did us all proud. And Sancho, Rashford and Saka, I think, were extremely dignified, very respectful, and they handled it in the right and proper way. But all of these guys, they can put that behind them now. They had a good tournament. They made everyone proud. And now they can look forward to a good season coming up and forward, hopefully with a lot more positivity. But definitely, whilst we're on this podcast now, I think it's the right time to say that change is definitely needed. Isn't that right, Reece?
Absolutely. If you have urges to be racist, I think that you are scum. There's no better word. There's no better way to phrase it. I'm sorry. You're not a good human being. Doesn't matter if it's towards a high-profile football player who's missed a penalty, or if it's just to the regular guy on the street. There's no cause for it ever. It's just never ever just acceptable ever. So we're trying to crank down on it. spread awareness of it, and just kind of kick it out of society. Societal norms. Obviously, Gary Neville was one of the ones to touch on it, and it does stem from the top. In certain Boris Johnson in some situations saying that people wearing hijabs look like letterboxes, and that's just unacceptable. And so when it comes from the top, it's going to spread down across the country, and we just have to try and kick it out of society, make sure that we're just kind to kind to one another, and let that not leak into our personal lives, and certainly not other people's professions, like abusing people for missing a penalty, which is absolutely absurd.
Well, obviously we weren't recording last week, so we're a bit late to this in terms of giving our opinions and views, but there you go. But moving on though, Jadon Sancho as a footballer, absolutely electric. I am buzzing. This is one that I've been waiting for a very long time, so I cannot wait. And then alongside that is why United bought in Tom Heaton as well on a free. That was, I think, a good little bit of business to replace the outgoing Sergio Romero. Obviously, I don't really think he'll be challenging for that number one position with De Gea and Henderson still there, but you never know. Strange things have happened, but there are a couple of other rumoured players that might be heading United's way. I'm sure you've got them on your list, Reece.
Indeed, and probably the most high profile of them all. It's kind of known that he wants to move to the Premier League for a new challenge away from Real Madrid. Rafael Varane, who could definitely, if signed by Man United, he could definitely push them towards the title picture. Being nailed on for first place and winning the Premier League this season.
I mean, it's a potential. Without a doubt, a player of his caliber improves this. Maguire's just had a fantastic Euros, a good season as well. I think Lindelof and Bailly are competent players as well at centre-back, but it might be good to have another real solid player with experience and a lot of titles under his belt, and Varane definitely comes with that. And, a rumoured back four next season of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Varane, and Wan-Bissaka could be a problem. It could be a problem for a lot of people in the Premier League. Am I against it? No, I'm not at all. But Rafa Varane, he is somebody that I did have a little bit of doubt about when we first heard the rumours. He's a fantastic, world-class defender, and he definitely has proven that. He's not without his injury problems, but, so are a lot of players these days. The other rumoured player that we were linked to was Pau Torres, which I thought was a far more likely transfer. But then, Villarreal beat us in the Europa League, so, why would he want to come to you? But Rafa Varane, would I take it? Of course I would, 100%.
And another guy, a very kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got a reputable player like Rafael Varane, all the way down to kind of where Jadon Sancho is, but on a highest, a younger level, Eduardo Camavinga, who is on the radar of absolutely everybody, one of the brightest young talents coming out of France. I mean, if United to grab him up, Varane, finalize the deal with Sancho, I mean, this team's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, it could be really interesting. I mean, I won't speak too much on Camavinga. I know a bit about him. I know a bit about what he brings. I know he's highly rated, but I haven't watched him week in, week out. I'm not exactly sure how his dynamic would fit in with us. If I'm being honest, I don't think that one's going to happen. I feel like United are probably going to. They're definitely probably interested. They're probably talking to him, but I feel like we will probably hang back a little bit. In the hopes to maybe, try and get a cheaper deal. And I personally feel like we're going to miss out on that one. It'll be a shame because obviously any young talent of that caliber you want to bring in, but I feel like we will miss out on that one. I feel like we're going to be focusing a bit more on defensive midfielder towards the latter end of the season. But, right back is another position we're looking to strengthen. Kieran Trippier is definitely still on the radar of United. And I personally wouldn't be against it if we got him for the right fee. I wouldn't be against it. I think he does improve you at the end of the day.
Yeah. He's a good option. £20 million, I think, is the proposed fee to pry him out of Atletico Madrid. And I mean, why not? He's had a decent Euros. He's won his first title at club level with Atletico Madrid as well. So yeah, and alongside that, you've got to try and either get rid of the deadwood or keep the players that you need to bolster the squad. And one player that will probably love to be seen by United fans staying next season is Jesse Lingard. I mean, there's going to be teams that are prodding around there. but do you think he's going to be staying around just to be a backup?
I don't necessarily think he'll be a backup. I think he'll be quite heavily involved. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think if there was a time to sell him at his peak, it probably would have been towards the end of the window. West Ham obviously would have been interested in keeping him, but I also feel like he was in, that good form. I feel like he could come in and do the same thing if he's hungry enough. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes is going to be the first name in that position on the team sheet, but Lingard can come in and do a job, and we know that. We always knew that, but it definitely had a lot of issues off the pitch, which he was, sorting out behind the scenes. A lot of people didn't really know about. But had a lifeline with West Ham, had a great, second half of the season there. So I wish all the best of luck to Lingard in this season at United, because I think he's going nowhere, and I think if he gets the opportunity, I think he'll do quite well.
Right, then I guess we've kind of wrapped up on Manchester United, and to be honest, their team is looking scary and scarier. Like, Rashford's only getting older, Cavani's still there, Bruno's probably one of the best centre just playmakers in the world. Paul Pogba, if he plays anything like he did for France this summer, just this entire team with the new signings, you're going to be a shoo-in for the Premier League title, which hurts to say. But then moving on to another title contender, and that's obviously Liverpool. I thought we kind of counter the start of the United talk with a bit of Liverpool talk, who obviously finalised Ibrahima Konate from RB Leipzig. He's got a little injury problem, a few injury problems that here and there. But that was confirmed. He's been seen in the kit. He was playing pre-season today or tomorrow. Yesterday, if you're watching this podcast here on the Wednesday. And yeah, it's just kind of it bolsters our defense, and obviously United having some centre back problems. Surely, like you look to Konate and Upamecano and those sort of young French centre backs that aren't being picked out by those top class teams. Do you think that you might have, if you don't go through with this Varane deal, would you kind of be mad that you didn't go in for one of these centre backs?
I mean, Upamecano, I think, was sort of
he was a buying player, wasn't he? Already.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I mean, Konate, I feel like that move has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. I mean, in terms of hype, I think that's a really good young defender, which I feel like, will definitely help Liverpool. So I feel like that one shouldn't be underestimated, because he could have a very strong season if he's fit. Yeah, potentially, like I said before, Pau Torres was linked with us. He was another good young centre-back maybe. But, I mean, every other club's loss is Liverpool's gain, really. And Konate, like I said, loads of potential. A lot of people rated him even higher than Upamecano. People who are regularly watching Leipzig, I think, in performances in the Champions League and whatnot, a lot of people had a lot of good things to say about him. And Klopp knows his defenders as well. So he's not messing around when he signs these guys. So, I think Konate was a good little grab for Liverpool.
Exactly. And, with Liverpool having to move forward from Gini Wijnaldum, who just left to go and join PSG, was going to join Barcelona, but then the money situation, now they've got to offload about 50 players in order to actually re-sign Lionel Messi. But I mean, in terms of trying to replace Wijnaldum, we're actually struggling to re-sign one of our players, and that's the contract negotiations with Jordan Henderson at the moment, which not sure what's going on there. I mean, what possibly could go on that your captain is either not being offered a contract or won't re-sign the contract?
I mean, I don't know. But I mean, realistically, I don't see him going anywhere. I mean, I'm not even just saying that to be, a Henderson hater. I honestly just see no other location for him higher than Liverpool right now, especially not in the Premier League. Maybe elsewhere, but not in the Premier League for a fact, in my opinion. But I feel like this is just a matter of time. It's probably just, maybe Klopp's got other plans. Maybe Klopp's looking to move the team in a different way. Maybe Henderson isn't going to be as much of a main feature, but whatever it will be, I fully expect him to be on the dotted line fairly soon. It's a lot of big players at a lot of big clubs. Some things take longer than others, don't they? So I think Henderson's going to have no issue with being sold. I mean, one player that I did see that has recently been sold by Liverpool is Marko Grujic, who was Klopp's first signing, and I think he never really got the chance to shine at Liverpool, really, did he?
He wasn't that great. He showed a lot of promising kind of traits, but you kind of get to that age of the mid-20s, and you kind of, if you're not showing a certain flair, like maybe You're at a level of what maybe Curtis Jones is at right now. Is like you're showing promise. You come up in key moments, and now Curtis Jones comes off the bench. He's one of the regulars that comes off the bench and in the starting lineup. So I think with Grujic, £10 million to Porto is not bad. It kind of raises a bit more of our funds, and in terms of what Fabrizio Romano has been saying as of late, we're wanting to sign a new winger in either the coming days or weeks going forward. And I'm just thinking, like, who is out there on the wing that we don't that we need? We've got Salah, Mane, we have we got Diogo Jota as well. Who out there? I mean, unless Shaqiri as well. Oxlade-Chamberlain can play on the right or the left. I mean, to be fair, in preseason he's been in the last, I think the game that's just been played, he was playing as a false nine. I mean, who out there would Liverpool buy if there were not some sort of development talent?
I mean, I'm not really sure in terms of exact. I mean, the rumor that I saw was that potentially it was Sadio Mane that was outgoing. I saw a couple of rumors there. I don't know how strong they were. But if you're going to bring someone in, I think you'd be looking to bring in someone young. I feel like maybe you weren't in for Sancho. I feel like you maybe should have been, potentially, if you weren't. But I mean, I feel like anyone should have been in for Sancho. Really, anyone should have been in for him. But maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I'm not too certain on that. But I feel like you'll probably go and look to sign a young guy. I mean, there'll be probably a lot of people at the Euros that I could sit here and rifle off. But it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool do get another winger in this window if you're going to spend any money to strengthen. It was defence, maybe a little bit of depth in terms of the wings. I feel like you could maybe improve on.
Yeah, and moving on kind of from Liverpool now. I'll leave my ranting until later in the transfer window when we've signed no one else other than Canate. It's already better than last season's transfer window. But yeah, I think maybe we move down to London and we cover the three London clubs. The first one being a team that's doing a lot of business at the moment in the transfer window. That's Arsenal, signing Nuno Tavares from Benfica and Lokonga from Anderlecht as well. Those are official. Tavares scoring, I think it was against Rangers the other day when they drew. Not the game that they lost to a poor Championship side. Arsenal fans. But unofficially, and I want to get your opinion on this. I've had a lot of centre back talk today, and Arsenal paying £50 million. I don't quite agree with the fee. I think he's going to be a quality player in the future. £50 million for Ben White.
Yeah. Now, see, like, it may be a bit controversial. I don't think the fee is that far off, considering what Brighton were going to want. I feel like definitely it's overpaying, but I mean, realistically, you'd probably be looking around like 30 million for Ben White. That sounds more realistic, doesn't it? But yeah, at the end of the day, selling to a Prem rival, English tax as well, and every club wants some of their own nation's players so they can go and represent them at the national tournaments, the World Cup, the Euros, that kind of thing. And like you said, Ben White is going to be fantastic. It was amazing to see him called up to the Euros. Obviously, he probably didn't get featured as much as he would have wanted, but he was there just in case. And at the end of the day, it's an honour to be called up. So fair play to him. But 50 million is a big tag to pay. I feel like Arsenal have more work to do defensively. I feel like Ben White is the perfect accompaniment to a big, solid defender, because he needs somebody confident to learn from. At Brighton, he was learning from Lewis Dunk, who was a perfectly competent Premier League defender. He gave him an awful lot of showing him the ropes and stuff at Brighton. But I feel like to go to a bigger club, and Arsenal are a very high profile club, he's going to want to have somebody there who's a seasoned veteran in that position, who's maybe been at the club for a fair amount of time, who could teach him about what it means to be a centre-back for that club and how to, adequately perform in that role. But Arsenal don't have that. Arsenal do not have that. I mean, Kieran Tierney is a fantastic player. He's going to be good on the left, and he's a good player. Ben White's good. You've got William Saliba, who doesn't really seem to be wanted by Arsenal. I don't know what's going on with him there. Not at all.
I think he's gone back out on loan this season.
I think he might have done. But you've got him, who's, keeps going. Some good performances and stuff, but he's still very, very early days. And then the right back position, which I think is an issue for them as well. So Arsenal have got a big window. You know, there's other areas they need to improve on, bar defense, obviously. But signing Tavares and stuff as well, it's interesting. But they've got more to do. But 50 million, I do agree with you. It's probably an overpayment, but I can say it's probably what I expected, roughly in that area.
You mentioned the right back spot. Looking towards kind of all the transfer rumor and innuendo. Max Aarons is on the radar of Arsenal, as so have many teams. You know, Max Aarons has proven to be a competent player. He played very, very well last season in the EFL Championship. So maybe signing Aarons is going to be one of those. Obviously, I mean, also signing Nuno Tavares, who is also a left back. You know, you've got that competition with Tierney, but I would argue that Nuno Tavares could be one of the ones that is coming off the bench, or in case that Tierney is injured, but maybe could play on the right hand side if called upon, if they don't go in for Max Aarons. You know what I mean? Everyone should be on the radar, like you said, for an English defender on the break of breaking into that England squad. Everyone should have Max Aarons on their radar this summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. They should have had him on the summer where Norwich went down, really. I mean, not many people got saved, and that was the thing we were saying at the end of that particular window, is that there are so many players out there to go and get from Norwich, and they're still there. So I feel like Aarons would be a really good signing for them. I feel like Arsenal are probably going to have a lot of competition if Norwich are gonna sell. But I don't necessarily think Norwich are going to sell. I think this is their first season back up in the Premier League. Their priority is going to be to stay in the Premier League this season. And to do that, they're going to need their best players. So if they did sell him, they'd need obviously a backup plan. But I feel like if they're going to get rid of him, they're going to want maybe around 35 to 40 million, which I feel like is quite a realistic fee in terms of, the profile and how good he could be. But who's going to be prepared to pay that? That's the thing. I know Tottenham were very interested in him at one point down the line. They signed Matt Doherty. Obviously, it didn't really work out too well, but Tottenham we'll talk on a little bit more about in a minute. But you never know. Max Aarons to Arsenal, I think that would be a good signing, but whether it's going to happen, I doubt it.
Well, that kind of perfectly moves us on to our next. That kind of segues us onto their rivals, Spurs. And the only thing that we can, again, we'll go back onto centre back talk in a minute. For a player that's kind of just rejected them in order to play Champions League football for another club instead of playing in the conference. But we have to go to Harry Kane. He's scored a lot of, scored a fair few goals in the Euros. Finally found his footing in the knockout stages. Couldn't quite get it done in the final. But Kane, he's been seen modelling the new Tottenham home shirt that you can buy for £90, as all Premier League shirts cost now. Ridiculous. Is he staying or is he going?
Probably staying.
Yeah.
This is the time for him to go. This is it. But I feel like right now, I would rather be any manager in the Premier League but Nuno, because he's got a lot of heads on him. Obviously, he's at Wolves. Probably been at Tottenham's level, in and out fairly recently, but Tottenham have been yo-yoing in terms of form, and they had a poor season under Mourinho, very poor, and obviously Ryan Mason had to anchor them to the end of the season, which fair play to him. Hopefully you've got the makings of a good young coach in Ryan Mason, but Nuno, this is his highest profile job yet now. Great, amazing stadium. Tottenham do have money. Whether they spend it's another thing. They do have some very good players in that team, some fantastic players. There really are some in there. And the best of the bunch is Harry Kane, and another impressive international campaign. The pressure is on. And Nuno's first and foremost job is to keep him. And they've already been asked about Harry Kane in terms of press conferences. I don't actually think they've met face-to-face yet, whilst Kane's and Nuno have been at the same club, because obviously the England guys have had a little bit of an extended break because of the Euros. So, they've spoken. Nuno said that they've spoken, and Nuno said, well, Harry is our player, end of. And that's totally the right answer. But there is going to be pressure on his shoulders. There's going to be pressure on his shoulders to try and keep Harry Kane there, and there's going to be pressure on Harry Kane's shoulders. It's like now or never. If Tottenham can get one more season out of Kane, if they got a season in silverware, absolutely incredible. Nuno has to be commended as a fantastic manager, and he is an impressive manager. But he would be fantastic if he keeps Kane and wins some silverware this season. But I don't know. I've got a feeling he probably will end up saying maybe he'll get priced out, because I feel like whatever way he does leave the club, it's probably going to be on really bad terms, which is a shame for Spurs fans. I think it would almost be better to sell, take the 120 million, rather than seeing him leave on a free or for massively underpriced, or maybe lose his form. You wouldn't want to see it if you were a Spurs fan. So we'll have to see, won't we? We'll have to see.
Well, there are rumours that he's actually potentially going to no-show pre-season in order to try and get this move going. But if Nuno can keep him, get a motivated Kane going, get him 25 goals a season, finish in the top 4, win the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, or maybe the Conference League, we'll give him that. But no one's going to want to stay at this club for the time being, are they? They're slowly falling to what they were back in 2008, 2007, which is a nothing club.
Well, they had an awful season. There's no doubt in that. They had a terrible season. And they had a terrible season under one of the most successful managers of all time. So there were a lot of issues there. There were a lot of issues on Jose's end. The team was stagnant. Things just weren't working out. So there does need to be change at that club. Do I think Kane's not going to show up to pre-season? I can't believe that. Kane just does. I know, obviously, I started to sound a bit like the Spurs fans now. It just doesn't sound like Kane. He's our player, all that stuff. But it just doesn't sound like him. I feel like he will fight tooth and nail whilst he is at Tottenham. But like you said, if you do keep players in this prison when they've requested they want to leave and there's offers on the table, but you don't want to sell, then things get ugly. Things do get ugly, and you wouldn't want to see it. It would be, no one would want to see that happen. So, they've got a tough window. But Kane isn't the only problem. They've got to bring in players. Then they've got to shift some of the deadwood as well. The main rumor that I've heard at the moment is Eric Lamela off to Sevilla, I think, and then I think is it Brian Gill? I think his name is coming the other way. A young winger. I'm not going to claim I know anything really about him. But it's Nuno knows La Liga, so you never know. That could be a good little piece of business. And Lamela's definitely somebody who needs to be shifted along, in my opinion. He's been there for a long time. Scores the occasional Rabona goal, which is amazing. But he's got to go. He's been there for so long.
He has to go, blood. Quoting Arsenal Fan TV there. But another guy that Spurs have kind of been sniffing around, but were in heavy talks with, but ultimately the player just didn't want to go. And that's Jules Koundé, who obviously plays in La Liga. He rejected the move just because he wants to play in the Champions League. He wants to play Champions League football. He doesn't want to play in that Conference League. And fair play to him. I wouldn't want to play in that league. Like, if we're being honest, like, if you're going to pick a team to go to, like, a young 20-year-old centre-back, French centre-back who could break into the French team, along with these other French centre-backs like Canate and Upamecano, you're going to want to play for, Real Madrid. You're going to want to play for Bayern Munich or Manchester United maybe, or Liverpool or Chelsea, Man City. These sorts of big teams that you want to play for. You're not going to want to play for Spurs. They're a small club, debatably. Like, no offense to the Spurs fans, but you are a bit of a small club at this point.
With him rejecting Tottenham, realistically, if a club like Real Madrid in the same window are willing to let Sergio Ramos and Rafael Varane leave, you've got to hope someone like Real Madrid have a plan, because what is going on there? So you think that someone like Jules Koundé from Sevilla would be a perfect signing to come in, like a young, talented French centre-back who already has played in the league and knows the league. Bring him in. Why not? You could probably get him on a random Real Madrid discount if you tap up the right people. You know what Real Madrid and Barca are like, fiends. But you never know. I feel like it probably, it would have been great to see him in the league, it would have been very interesting. I know a lot of other Premier League clubs are probably interested in him, but you can't blame him if you don't want to play in the league two like national leagues below, two European leagues rather below the Champions League. Then fair enough. I don't think anyone's going to criticise him for that.
I think we've kind of covered all like the big teams, I guess, in quotation marks, or like the teams that have done the most at the moment in the transfer window. But we'll kind of go to like the sort of brief points that we mainly talk about every single transfer window. And the first one I want to go to is Wilfried Zaha, who once again, no surprise, he wants to leave Crystal Palace.
Yep, that sounds right. The sky's blue, clouds are white, the sun's yellow. Everything, we all know is facts. Wilfried Zaha wants to leave Palace. Fair enough. Wilfried Zaha is still a good player. He's still a really good player. And I feel sorry for him, but he's got to have gone now. The ship's got to have sailed. I don't know, but I don't know where he'd go. I think it would be, wherever he did go, it would be a sideways step in the Premier League, I think. Maybe, I don't know, Everton, maybe Southampton, Wolves. I can see one of these clubs maybe trying to get a bit lucky and go for him. I could see Tottenham maybe trying to go for him for some reason. I don't think it would be a smart move, but it just seems like a Tottenham thing to do.
Well, they might need a new striker soon, so
you never know. They might want to need a new striker. It could be an interesting little rumour actually to keep an eye on, but who knows? Do I think he's going? Nah, I don't think he's going.
Especially with Patrick Vieira coming in. I thought that was a completely bizarre appointment. But
very strange. Very strange.
Speaking of, I think we should turn this into a game over the transfer window. Is he staying or is he go now? And that's again the player that we've probably talked about for the last couple of summers, and that's Jack Grealish. Is he staying or is he going?
He's staying. He's staying. I don't think he's going anywhere. I feel like, again, had a really impressive Euros. It probably wasn't featured as much as people would have liked him to be, but still looked good at the Euros. And he's like, the nation just loves him. The nation absolutely loves Jack Grealish. Loads of clubs love him. Loads of clubs want him. At one point, it was seemingly like nailed on he was going to Manchester United. That wasn't too long ago. It was seeming like that was literally done. And I think even he was aware of the rumours, and I think he was probably aware of a lot more than that, but he's playing it keeping his cards close to his chest, and that's all he can do. I know that he loves Aston Villa, which is a good thing. If he's playing at that club, he does have a lot of love for the club. So whilst he's there, the Villa fans will know they'll get the most out of him. But the estimated rumour was like he was going to cost like 100 million, which I can understand why Villa would probably want to charge that. Don't think I'd probably pay that, and I don't think many other clubs would either. The only club that was rumoured to have been paying 200 million for Kane and Grealish was Man City. But, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think it's time we move on to the next player for the next edition of Will He Stay or Will He Go Now? And that's Declan Rice. Obviously, West Ham. Chelsea have kind of been sniffing around that area. I think Chelsea have also been made aware that he does want to move to Chelsea. Obviously, very good friends with Mason Mount.
Yeah.
Will he stay or will he go now?
He's a Chelsea boy, isn't he? He came through their academy and was at West Ham for the latter stages of his career. So I feel like that one could happen. But at the end of the day, it's not Frank at the wheel now. It's Thomas Tuchel. So it's Tuchel's decision. And Tuchel's already got, Jorginho, he's got Kante, two players who have had phenomenal seasons. So he's got a lot of questions to kind of ask there. Maybe, I don't know if it's the right move for him. I also know United are very interested. So that could be a potential one as well. And I feel like we need a DM of that kind of caliber as well. I think he had a fantastic Euros, and so did Calvin Phillips. I don't know if that's another person that you've got on that list, but Calvin Phillips is another one that I feel like could potentially be on a lot of radars. But I feel like both players may probably stay another year.
Yeah, I think with the entire the pandemic era of Premier League football, you're going to find that people might stay a year longer, especially if you got young players like Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice that are going to want to stay a few, maybe an extra year. Help, especially with a team with momentum like West Ham. Obviously, without Jesse Lingard this season, I know that they probably would have liked to have signed him for probably less than what United are asking for. But you mentioned United when potentially trying to sign, Declan Rice, and I think there was a conversation with Maguire and Declan Rice that was caught on the pitch. I can't remember what it was like, but I think Maguire was doing his, come on, come play for United. You're too good for West Ham. And at that point, I think Declan Rice was quite happy to stay at West Ham. Either that, or he's dead set on the move to Chelsea.
I feel like Chelsea is probably his priority. I feel like that's probably not a secret. I think he would probably like to go back there. And I honestly feel like whilst Frank Lampard was there, I feel like that was a direct transfer that was going to happen. But obviously, Tuchel may still hold him in the same regard. But Tuchel is, he's a Champions League winning manager now. And he had one of the most incredible stories of it as well, obviously, with PSG. PSG sack him, he goes to Chelsea, wins Champions League, in amazing fashion. So, I have all the credit for Tuchel. It's a shame he's at Chelsea, but I have all the credit for Tuchel. There were a lot of question marks around him, but he got that team playing out of their skin. So fair play to him. But let's hope if Declan Rice wants that Chelsea move, you better hope that Tuchel holds him in the same regard. But I know a lot of clubs are also interested on him, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be interested at this point? I mean, I'm interested. Declan Rice, hit me up. But I think another team that are looking for replacements or players. Man City is still looking for their Aguero replacement, aren't they? I mean, I've seen a rumor. I don't know if it's true. I think that Manchester City are looking towards Robert Lewandowski, and I mean, yes, he's a great player for replacing Aguero. He's a talisman. He's a proven goal scorer. But would Robert Lewandowski swap Bayern Munich and guarantee success for Manchester City?
Maybe not for Manchester City. Maybe for Pep, he would. Obviously, he will know Pep. Yeah. He will know what Pep's about. I feel like that would be incredible. I want to see Lewandowski in the Premier League so badly, because I honestly love him. He's such a good player. And like I said, Man City are still looking for this Aguero replacement. And they played a lot of the season without a 9 anyway. They were playing Foden there. They were playing Sterling there. Bernardo Silva. They were doing all sorts. But I feel like they need a striker. And clearly they don't care that much about Gabriel Jesus. I think I have heard the clubs have been sniffing around for him. And he's definitely worth a gamble. He's a really good player. It's just City don't seem to want to play him all the time. Lewandowski would be a great signing. I think even at the age he is now, I think he's 32, 33, he's still fantastic. But whether it will happen, again, it's a tough question. I personally think if Lewandowski wants to go anywhere, it'll probably be Real Madrid. And I feel like that is something which is more realistic to happen if there's questions over the Mbappe deal still. So, we'll have to wait and see that one as well. I mean, I am surprised that maybe Haaland hasn't been talked about as much, but there's no way that Erling Haaland is leaving Borussia Dortmund this season after they've let Sancho go. There's no way. Because Chelsea did bid. Chelsea did put an official bid in,
yep.
And that's I think that's concrete now. I think that's confirmed. And Borussia Dortmund were straight away, no, we don't need to look at it. You've got to imagine that's got to be anywhere over 80 million they bid. It has to be.
If you bid for Erling Haaland, it's got to be in the hundreds of millions at this point. He's a world-class player. He's so young, and he's got such an eye for goal as well. It's been so long since we've seen a young striker. He doesn't have all the pace in the world, and he's got a bit of a funny run, but he's got an eye for goal, and the amount of goals that he can score for a club is you can't deny him at this point. He is a fantastic player, and whether he goes to Man City or not, who knows? But we'll have to see in the coming weeks. Please stay tuned for that to see whether we can give our opinions on any Man City Aguero replacement. But to kind of finish it off, some team that is kind of looking towards the future and a replacement for someone is Leicester, looking for Jamie Vardy's replacement and bringing in Daka, who is a very, very fast player. I know that. I'm not too sure else on what he brings to Leicester, but I mean they've also brought in Soumaré from Lille. What a signing! I think that is one of the most underrated signings of the summer so far. What a signing!
Yeah, that was a move that was highly touted for a lot of clubs in the Premier League. No sign of Leicester anywhere though. They were not in that race. and then all of a sudden, bang, Leicester do it, and their transfer setup is absolutely brilliant. So whoever they do bring in up front, if they bring in someone else, that's going to be fantastic, whoever they're going to go for, But obviously, Vardy is still there. It would probably be a long-term replacement they're looking for. Danny Ings, I feel like, was the name that I was saying towards the end of last season. I feel like Ings does deserve a step up from Southampton. I feel Leicester could be really good for him. But then again, Iheanacho towards the end of last season was playing out of his skin again. Absolutely fantastic form. And I've always thought he was going to get his second win. When City sold him, I could not believe it. But, it wasn't really working out at Leicester. And then all of a sudden, bang. And that's all it can be. You get your opportunity again and you got to take it. And you could see Jose Perez coming back in and banging for Leicester. You never know. But like you said, another striker would be really good for them. Potentially a Wilfried Zaha, maybe. Interesting.
Maybe. But they have signed Patson Daka from Salzburg, 22 years of age. So they're definitely looking towards the future. He's a Jamie Vardy-esque type player. He brings pace, a lot of pace and finishing prowess as well. Obnoxious bikes going past here in the state of the average pundits. Apologies for that, but yeah, and a fee, I think about £27 million. There's quite the budget to be spending on players, especially for a team like Leicester. But it just shows their hunger and determination to compete, and they want to be in that top 4 spot. They don't want to choke like last season and finish but they've got to prepare for the Europa League. They've got to compare for all this European competition. They've got to compare to compete. They've got to compete now. They've got to prepare to compete, and that's kind of what they have to do. But yeah, kind of finally wrapping up this. Do you have any sort of predictions that you think could potentially happen within the next coming weeks of this transfer window?
That's tough. That's honestly tough. I would say clubs to keep an eye out on. I definitely feel like Manchester United will have some other business down the line in the coming weeks. That's going to be something I'm pretty confident about. Chelsea and City have been a little bit quiet in terms of rumours, so don't be surprised if you see all of a sudden their names popping up again. And then also two clubs that really need business, in my opinion, are Tottenham and Arsenal, 2 London clubs. They're the ones who I'm predicting to go out and, as long as they're getting the back in, have expensive windows. Arsenal have kind of already made a start in that area, but maybe they need a few more high-profile players. Will that come in? Who knows? Tottenham as well, desperately in need of signing. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled and see what comes.
Definitely. I can't agree more. I think I'm with Arsenal maybe shifting out some of the deadwood. Aubameyang, Lacazette, get out the door, signing a new striker. Bang, get Saka starting every single week. Bang. Maitland-Niles maybe coming back into the squad as well. There's some bright things coming out of both sides. All we can do is hope that this season coming up is going to be a very competitive one. I know that you're probably looking forward to it, definitely, where the United probably on the title surge at the moment. But yeah, as we kind of wrap up, all the Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give it a like, share it anywhere on social media. That gives us a massive help. Obviously on the screen you can see the Twitter and social media. That will be in the link in the description. However, if you're on a streaming service, you can go find us on Twitter at Average Pundits. On Twitter, it's at Pundits Average. It's too hot today, Joe. It's too hot. I can't do it. I'm getting flustered. At Pundits Average on Twitter and the Average Pundits on Facebook and Instagram. Go follow us on all those social media platforms. Make sure you give us a follow. Give us a little message on there to let us know that you are loving the content. And you can get to us on the averagepundits@outlook.com if you ever want to come on to the show. Let us know your footballing opinions. Maybe you are one of the clubs that we talked about today, and you want to give your opinions on the transfer talk going forward. So this is going to be a hell of a transfer window, isn't it?
It's going to be a long, hot, sweaty transfer window. But yeah, we'll have a lot more content coming out fairly soon. Hopefully a lot more transfer rumours. But thank you very much, guys, for watching and listening. As always, we will see you next time.